This is my quest for an internship. For me, this was a very frustrating process and took lots of time to try and figure out where to go. I made so many phone calls. I probably made 10, 12 phone calls. And the frustrating part was the people I was calling with said I needed to be into my first or second year in my master's program. So that was really frustrating and kind of made me not want to call anymore. But what I've kept going, and I finally called into a school district, actually my local school district, and the guy I spoke with, whose name was Darren Dean, says, "Yeah, we can get you into an internship." So that was pretty cool. And what was neat about it is that was an elementary school just a mile away from me. So I was able to go to that school. It was Horizon Elementary. And then when Darren told me that I was accepted for an internship, I had to make contact with Horizon Elementary and with the social worker there. So I took a little bit of a process to get to know who she was and how I can best explain what I needed to do. What was interesting as well, though, is it was at the end of the school year, and I couldn't do the internship with the time period that I had left. So I had to do it at the beginning of the following school year. But I was still in summertime, made contact with the social worker and sent emails for the practicum that I've done and other ideas to help students out. So that's how I arranged with that. And I arranged to meet with Jamie like the first day of school so I could talk to her even though we wouldn't service kids at that time. So it's good to talk to her, kind of get on the same page of what we want to do, make sure she understood what I needed to do to get the best out of my internship. So that worked out really good. So the responsibilities that I had didn't come quick and didn't automatically fall into my lap, kind of. I had to work for it and show Jamie, who was my social worker intern, or who I interned with, what I needed to do. And so she started groups, and I talked about groups with her and what we can do to improve certain aspects. Like I had, one of them was a social group, and we had to help these kids, these students, learn how to have a better conversation. There were more people with autism and not really wanting to speak out, and it was fun to teach them and have conversations with them and help them understand as they take time to think about what another person says and add to it. They become quite a little bit more social, and that was pretty neat to see. Another with the group, she had me a morning group that we had, and that was a behavior group. And I think it was like after the first 4 weeks, she says, "Here you go. Why don't you teach the morning group?" And that was our behavior group. So we shared different characteristic traits that we learned from. So that's what I did. I even took stuff home and kind of processed it, studied it, even role played by myself certain situations with these kids, and it was kind of fun. It was good for me. One of the big things that we did a lot of was observations. And at first I was terrible at these observations, where we'd go into a certain classroom watching and observing a specific student. And with that specific student, we'd observe him, what he'd do every 15 seconds. And as soon as we observed him every 15 seconds, we'd also look at another same gender person in the classroom and see if they were on or off task. And it was neat to watch students and come up with new students who we needed to observe more and maybe could help or be benefited by meeting with a social worker. And then in the morning, I also had a few students that would come in and we'd set goals with them. So they'd come into the office and we'd set goals with what they want to accomplish for the week. It was even as simple as keep our hands to self, or it could be follow directions the first time asked, or sit on the carpet quietly. It was interesting with these goals. I'm like, man, these are so easy and so basic, but for these kids, it wasn't for them. I had a difficult time. So it was intriguing for me to learn about that. Took me a second to think about what I did to benefit the placement. Um, but then as I talked to Jamie, who was the social worker there, it was very nice to hear her say, "You've benefited us a lot by relieving stress for me." There was a particular student who was had a difficult time, and they needed a lot of focus on this student. So when morning groups came or afternoon groups come, and this certain student had a difficult day, Jamie could go and deal with the student as I took over the groups. So there was a trust there that was kind of humbling for me, that I wasn't there that long, maybe a month, and she's already trusted me with these students and teaching these groups. And it was just made me really excited to be in this internship, to be in a school. I really liked being at an elementary school. It was a chance to prove myself, kind of thing. It was like, this is what I've learned to do, what I've went to school for. I can actually get it now, put it into play. But it is kind of humbling the first time when you're put into the situation, and maybe you're not as prepared as well. And what I learned is preparing yourself for the day or for the week is so much more beneficial than just kind of doing it off a whim, as people would say, and doing it at the spur of the moment. It was difficult when I did it a couple of times, and but it's one of those things not to deter you, just become better and actually think before you react to certain situations. What I also try to do is those frustrating times with difficult students, I try and bring in a good attitude as I would come to work and be positive and excited, and each day I would come. And that was really neat. And support them and just listen to them too, because the social worker, even though that they have a high degree, they need to kind of vent and let frustrations out. And that was what was neat for me to see as well. There are lots of connections that I could have made. The biggest one for me is Bonfriend-Brenner's ecological system. And it was really intriguing to see how parents affect their students or their children, and how the children at school can affect the parents at home, and how workplaces with single parent families, how they'd have to get out of work, or their stresses of work would come home and be frustrating for their kids, and then the kids would come to school the next morning frustrated and angry, kind of like a big cycle of it. So that's what the biggest connection I had is the ecological system, and how the meso system and the microsystem are so important to a great community, and it needs to be taken care of the best we can. So me being into the internship, I tried my best to be positive, help them out when needed, and hopefully that could get pushed off to their home. I would highly recommend the Murray School District. It was very beneficial for me. The elementary school that I worked at was very flexible with time that I could go. It was, for me, difficult to arrange babysitters. And since I'm a stay-at-home dad and my wife works, it was difficult to find a babysitter for my two younger children. And having a set schedule was neat to have, so that they knew I could be there. But also there was other times that babysitters couldn't make it, so they were okay with me having a half a day, but I would make sure I tell them the day before that this is what's going to happen. And they were really flexible. It was really helpful for me, and it didn't stress me out as much. It gave me a chance to really put my learning to play. Got a chance to use what knowledge I had, and even gain more knowledge from the certain circumstances that came up. So for those of you who are in the Salt Lake area, maybe in the Murray City area, I would highly recommend the Murray School District. They can put you in different placements and make things work out for you. It was really nice to work with Darren Dean. He's the main guy that I talked to and shared emails with. I let him know what I needed to be done, how many hours I needed, when I wanted to start, and he was very helpful and very nice to work out the different things I needed to. So here's his information. If you guys want to go ahead and give that a try, I hope you have a great experience as I did, and be able to grow and even grow more from what you have experienced.